Still now, the battle of our nation's wallet heating up on the Hill. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, other Republicans, accusing the White House of hiding $105 billion in unannounced spending and the health care overhaul. The Minnesota Republican Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, chair of the Tea Party caucus in the House, with me now, and nice to see you back here in New York.
Good to see you, Bill.
Strong language. A gangster government, thoroughly corrupt. You stand behind that?
Well, of course, because I don't know, this is unparalleled. I don't think we've ever seen this before in history. This is one of the most controversial pieces of legislation to get through Congress, the government takeover of health care. And now find out in a report by the Congressional Research Service that contained within this bill is a $105,464 million in spending, $5 billion of which will be spent this year between now and 2019. This is a crime against democracy, and we are a government where we know what's in the bills usually before we
and
vote for
you and
them.
others have made the argument you didn't have time to look at
well,
it. Is that the reason why it was not discovered?
Yeah, exactly,
or?
Because Harry Reid did not give the senators the final version of the bill until just a couple of hours before they voted on it. In the House, we were working on the House bill. At the last minute, we got the Senate language. That's what we ended up voting on.
What you allege is that the cost of the $105 billion was broken up in different parts in the bill.
Yes, it's broken up into little pieces and buried in 2,900 pages.
Okay, but I've got an Associated Press report from May of last year talking about the overhaul may add $115 billion to health costs.
Sure,
which sounds a lot like $105 billion to me. What's the difference?
Well, what they were saying is that in a separate piece of legislation, after Obamacare passed, then Congress would take up funding. That's what we thought. We thought a separate bill would come to fund Obamacare. That's why it was so important that Republicans won in 2010, so that we wouldn't fund the implementation of Obamacare. We said, number one, we'll repeal it. House Republicans voted to repeal it. Number two, we said if we don't repeal it, we'll defund it. Then we find out the Democrats went ahead deceptively. You don't have stories and stories and stories about this $105 billion because no one knew that Harry Reid, Pelosi, and Obama put the $105 billion into spending
So what you're
in
saying,
the bill.
That money is baked into the bill.
It's baked into the bill, and it's done.
That's already on the way. This $115 billion that I mentioned is a separate pile of money that could be used if Congress gives the discretion to spend it. You have the votes.
We thought it was coming later. Thought it was coming later to implement, and we thought that we as Congress would actually get a chance to vote on and debate that issue. We never had that chance.
Okay, your proposal is simple. Give the money back.
Give the money back. Because
now you have the majority in the House. What are you hearing from the leadership?
Well, we'll all be going back to Washington later today, and we'll begin that discussion. This is a bombshell. This just came out recently that we found that this $105 billion was contained in Obamacare. Okay. Now we have an opportunity. March 18th, the government runs out of money. So we're now negotiating how we're going to continue to fund money. Our position is this. Obama, Pelosi, and Reid should give that money back. $105 billion. We Republicans identified $61 billion in cuts off of the 2010 budget. We're saying we're working hard to get a few cuts, and you've already spent $105 billion and you didn't tell us. Give that money back, then we'll talk about the budget.
A simple question. If you get what you're looking for, what happens to the health care law?
Well, the health care law stays in place. It isn't in the process of being implemented. That is Congress's duty to implement the bill. Okay. And it's highly controversial, and it will cost a lot of money.
On spending, just two quick topics here. Will the House get the $60 billion in spending cuts?
Not if President Obama has his way. He wants to have $6 billion in cuts. We're actually looking, there's savings. We're looking at savings of $61 billion, and we're fighting for that.
But I'm seeing these 87 freshman Republicans in the House. They're not budging on any of this.
No, they shouldn't.
Are you going to get them to cross the line, or at what point do you reach an impasse where the House leadership says, you know, you got to give us something? Either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no.
My opinion is now is when we draw the line in the sand. You can't win if you don't fight. We have to fight on this issue. Number one, Obama and Pelosi Reid have to give back the $105 billion. And then from there, we'll talk about what the savings will be.
All right. March 18th is the little circle on the calendar.
Yeah.
Nice to see you in person.
Good to see you, Bill.
Michelle Bachmann, thank you.
Thank you.